Okay, so hopefully everybody is in the right place. We are here to talk about getting involved in summer research specifically. So let's just do some brief introductions. My name is Anna Patino. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I am a Europe advisor here at the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, and I will be leading us through this information session today. With me, I also have one of our peer advisors, so I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself.
Hello, how is everybody doing today? My name is Kaustubh Simha. I'm a third year double major in electrical engineering and applied physics. I've been a peer advisor slash ambassador for Europe for the past 2 years. It's really nice to meet you guys.
Awesome. So thank you to Kaustubh for being here with us today. He's going to share a little bit about his experiences in summer research. And with that, let's just go ahead and dive right in because we do have quite a bit of content to cover today. So this is going to be my first audience participation question. I am going to ask y'all to go ahead and put your answers in the chat. We're here to talk about summer research, but I want to hear from all of you first. What is research? What do we think research is, and what are we going to be talking about today? I'll give everybody a second to hop in the chat. Okay, research is a scientific method. Anyone else running experiments? Absolutely. Some research is experimental for sure. Anybody else want to go ahead and hop in the chat? Okay, expanding on already known facts. Absolutely. Science does not exist in a vacuum, so we are absolutely building off of others. Exploring something by pushing the limits of our knowledge. Yeah, for a lot of us, we absolutely are working at the edge of a new idea, right? Deeper study into a specific topic, great. Systematic investigation, love that. An opportunity to explore a subject through trial and error. All of these are wonderful, and all of you are correct, right? So research is going to look a little bit different depending on what field you're in and whether or not you decide to stick to that field as you're doing undergraduate research, right? There is also quite a bit of cross-disciplinary research here at UCI. So that is definitely something that some of you might be considering as you're looking at research opportunities. Here at Europe, we like to define research in a very general way. So all research, regardless of discipline, is going to follow some sort of pattern, right? And so that pattern is going to start with identifying some sort of challenge. Regardless of your field, you're going to want to address a challenge, right? Because that is why we're doing the research. We're wanting to usually fix something, learn more about something, and that's where your process is going to start. Our second part of that is going to be figuring out how to resolve that challenge, right? So if our challenge is going to be trying to learn more about something, figuring out how to resolve it, you're going to decide on how we're going to find more out about that topic. And then you're going to resolve it. You're hopefully going to resolve that challenge that you had in the beginning. And again, this is applicable to all fields, which is why it's so general. And I want to go ahead and give an example because all of you engage in research absolutely every single day, regardless of what it is that you're doing throughout the day. And you're all extremely capable of engaging in research in general, but also in research this coming summer, hopefully, right? So my example is going to be our challenge is going to be being hungry, right? So if we think back to maybe finals week last quarter, right? We all love to think about finals week. Maybe you were sitting in the library or, back at home and you were studying your day away and you realize, you know what, I'm actually really hungry. I haven't eaten in a little bit. That is going to be our challenge. How we figure out how to resolve it is going to be a little bit different for everyone, right? So some of us might just think, oh, I could just go over to the fridge and grab, something I meal prepped, or maybe I'll just grab a snack. For this particular example, we're going to figure out how to resolve it by looking up food near us, right? So with this, I want to illustrate that these methods can be different for any given project. There's always a wide range to choose from, but this is what we're going to choose for this particular project because it fits our needs. So we're going to look for places to eat in our area. In this particular example, I will use In-N-Out, right? It's right across the street from UCI, and maybe that's where you decide you want to go eat. You're looking for places and you decide that sounds good. I'm going to head over to In-N-Out, right? You go over, you buy yourself a burger, and you have now resolved your challenge. You were hungry, now you're at the place where you can go get food. All of this follows that general research pattern, right? So we're doing research every single day of our lives. And now here in the next few examples, right, at UCI, you're going to be doing some more applied research. It might look a little bit different than this particular process here, but it absolutely will still follow this general pattern. And whether you decide to do research here on campus or somewhere else, again, it's still going to follow this pattern. So something to keep in mind as you're thinking of your research goals for sure. And this is going to be my second, and I promise last, audience participation question. So as we're talking about getting involved in research, let's think about, why do I even want to get involved in research this summer? What are the benefits? Why would I even want to do this at all? You can go ahead and put your answers in the chat, and I'll go ahead and read some of those. Okay, to gain professional and educational skills, absolutely. Experience, yeah, that's a big one. Anyone else? To apply what's learned in classes, yes. To find a subject that you can expand on, if you decide to become a graduate student, that's a really popular one. And just because it's fun, absolutely. I love those answers. So there's definitely going to be lots of universal benefits to research. So I want to highlight that regardless of what kind of research you engage in and where you engage in that research, you are still going to gain transferable benefits that come along with any research opportunity, right? So let's go over some of those benefits now. The first one, someone already pointed out, hands-on experience, right? So some of us have never gotten any real experience, and it's really hard nowadays to get hands-on experience somewhere because they always want you to have experience to gain experience, right? Which is really, really tough. But for undergraduate students in any university really, but especially here at UCI for being an R1 institution, it is really common and a really great way to get hands-on experience through research. Transferable skills. So I've said this a couple times already, but I really do love the idea of gaining these transferable skills through our research experiences. So undergraduate research can teach you a variety of things that you will not just use in a research field, but also in other places. So a lot of folks will say, why would I do research if I don't want to be a researcher? And, that's a valid question, right? But we want to think about those transferable skills that we're gaining from those research experiences, like communication, time management, data management, math skills, interpersonal skills. All of these are going to transfer to other places, whether that's in your career that is non-research related, or if you choose to go a more academic route, these will absolutely still be helpful. Real world applications. So we are extremely lucky to be at an institution where a lot of the research that we're doing is directly impacting folks in your communities, right? Making an actual difference in the scientific community. And a lot of the faculty that we have here at UCI are doing really, really amazing work, right? So a lot of students do feel particularly motivated by the idea of having a real world impact on things that they truly care about. So that's another benefit there. Someone also said this in the chat, so applying classroom knowledge, absolutely. Some of y'all have been students for what, over a decade, probably way, way more than that. I can't do the math right off the top of my head, but you've been a student for quite some time now. We've been learning so much in the classroom, and all of you hopefully have chosen your major on something that really interests you, right? So as you're sitting in those classes, you can think about what you are interested in and how you can apply that somewhere else. So you're using that base knowledge in a way that will help you learn even more. You'll think even more deeply, develop those critical thinking skills in a way that you can't really in a classroom. And number 5, potentially my favorite, is collaborating with others. Especially nowadays, it can be really tough to learn how to collaborate with your peers, how to collaborate in a professional setting, collaborating with faculty members, with PhD students, with staff potentially. So this is a really good experience for a lot of students. This will be your first time kind of collaborating with others in that truly professional setting. And it is a really great benefit to get out of your undergraduate research experience. Because again, professional settings can be pretty different from just regular everyday, interactions with your friends and also with your classmates. Great. So now I kind of want to turn the tables here and ask Kaustav to share a little bit about his experience. So Kaustav, what specific benefits have you gained so far from your research experience?
Okay. Like I said before, I'm actually a double major in physics and electrical engineering. They have a lot of overlap, and the lab that I work in at UCI is the Quantum Materials and Devices Laboratory. So one of the biggest things is I got some hands-on experience with these engineering and physics concepts. I got a chance to use a bunch of different oscilloscopes, different types of measurement systems, and these are things that I've learned about, I've seen on a whiteboard in my classroom, but I got a chance to actually apply and see how that looks like in a real world setting. And transferable skills, yes, I got a bunch of different skills that I could put it on my resume, and I could kind of talk to other people during conferences, during job interviews, and during other applications. And that's pretty amazing. So I have something else I could talk about other than the classes that I took. I also could talk about how I applied them. And also for me was a good community. Through my research, I got a chance to meet a bunch of other people that are very interested in physics and engineering, and they ended up being some people that not just undergrads, but grad students and professors. There are a lot of people that you can ask for referrals, for job referrals, or just friends in general where you have something else in common. So yeah, it was it was good skills that I could transfer over, applying my classroom knowledge and having something to talk about in job interviews and in general, creating a good community of other very smart people. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kaustav. So there you heard from Kaustav just a couple of benefits that he's gained from his undergraduate research experience. And as we're talking throughout this presentation, you'll notice that there are going to be a couple of differences between on-campus summer research and off-campus summer research. So when I'm talking about the types of summer research, I am going to make that distinction just because on-campus and off-campus are going to be pretty different from each other. So when I say on-campus research, I am talking about doing research here at UCI with a UCI faculty mentor. And that is the application process for that is going to look pretty different for an application that will be at an off-campus institution. So we'll talk a little bit more about those differences as we're going through this presentation, and just something to keep in mind as we move along. So starting off with on-campus research. So what does on-campus research look like here at UCI over the summer, but also just in general? We can see a couple of different models, right? So within on-campus research, you have a couple of options as far as what kind of research you decide to get into. That first one is going to be joining a faculty lab. And when I say lab, I do not mean just the STEM fields, right? So lots of different fields have labs, I guess you could call them, or research groups. So those still do exist in the humanities and social sciences, social ecology, et cetera. So just something to keep in mind when I'm talking about faculty labs, right? The important thing to remember about a faculty lab is that the faculty member, if you see in this sort of little hierarchy, the research question is probably going to come from that faculty member, or sometimes labs are working on various different projects, but essentially those are going to be the faculty member's project. The research question is going to be theirs, right? In an independent project, the difference here is that the project, the idea of it, or the research question that comes with it is going to be yours, right? So you are working with faculty mentorship in both of these situations. But in one, you are likely working on the faculty members' research, or sometimes there's also graduate students, other undergraduate students that are in this lab that are all working towards specific projects, right? So it's not necessarily your own personal research project. And in an independent project, it is your research project, right? You came up with that challenge, right, that we're trying to address. It isn't necessarily the faculty members' project, but you are still getting mentored in both of these scenarios, right? You still do need to work with a UCI faculty mentor in both of these cases. And keeping in mind that it might be more common in your field to find one of these models over another. So you'll see that labs are particularly popular in the STEM fields, right? But again, I'll reiterate, that doesn't mean that they don't exist in the arts, humanities, social sciences. They absolutely still do. Independent projects can be a little bit more common in the arts, humanities, social sciences, but they absolutely still exist in those STEM fields. So you'll want to talk to your faculty mentor that you decide to work with on what format is going to be the best for you and for, their mentorship specifically. Some faculty members might be more open to a certain model over, another. That also brings us to how much time should we spend in our research, just as a general rule of thumb, right? So this becomes particularly salient, right, during the summertime because it can shift quite a bit. So depending on which faculty member you're working with and what your role with that faculty member is, your hours are going to vary, right, from opportunity to opportunity. So during the summer, we see that there is typically a bigger range, right, of hours worked, and that's just because it's different for everybody, right? So it can go anywhere from 10 to 30-ish hours. This is just a general assumption. You really could be doing less and you could be doing more. It really just depends on your particular relationship with that faculty member and what your role with them is. During the school year, we see that that range reduces significantly. Most students, and again, it can vary, are doing anywhere from 12 to 15 hours a week in their research opportunity during the school year. So for those that are interested in summer work or you want to get started in the summer, then you want to take into account how much that's going to vary from what your typical day is going to look like during an academic school year. Now down here, you'll notice that we specify that most professors are going to prefer that you stick around for at least 3/4 or for a school year. And what I mean by that is that it takes time to develop those research skills that we talked about to get those benefits out. And also it takes time for these faculty members to actually train you to start on the research project. It takes time for you to develop a research question and then, do your project and actually finish it, right? So most folks will prefer that you stick around for 3/4. If you're planning on starting in the summer, then you can likely plan to not just do summer research, but you might also be doing research in the fall and winter quarter. If you're wanting to start in the spring, do research over the summer, go into the fall. All of these things are possibilities, but you're going to want to talk to your faculty mentor about what that time commitment is going to look like, because I cannot stress this enough, it's going to vary from person to person. So can you do more? Absolutely. A lot of students do decide to stick around for more than 3/4. I've definitely met students that start their freshman year maybe and are with the same professor up until they graduate, right? They're with them for all 4 years. Some students decide to go to different opportunities throughout their time here at UCI, but that minimum is usually going to be the 3/4, right? So definitely have a conversation with the faculty member that you're wanting to work with about what that time commitment looks like. And if we're thinking about that time commitment, right, is, how much time do I want to be doing this? And do I have enough time? That also begs the question of then when should I get started, right? We're all here talking about summer research, even though it's only winter quarter, right? But things do require more time than you would think. So generally, whenever you're ready is a good time to get started. But if you have a few goals in mind and you're wanting to start by a certain timeline, then that's going to depend on you, right? So some questions to ask yourself about when you might want to get started are, when do I have time in my schedule? Do I want to clarify my goals and plans? Do you know when you want to start doing research? How long, do I want to do this for? Like I said, that minimum of 3/4 is going to be really relevant here. And also how long before you graduate, right? So you want to keep all of this into consideration. Since we're here to talk about summer research, I will say if you're looking to get involved during the summertime, now is a really good time to get started, just looking for professors or looking for summer opportunities, because those deadlines will come up faster than you would have expected. So for on-campus research specifically, we recommend that you start looking at least a couple months before you want to get started. So if you are wanting to do summer research, it is possible that you start and once the summer starts, but some professors will have you on board a little bit before that. So it's just something to keep in mind. You'll want to leave yourself more time than you think is necessary. You do also want to consult with an academic advisor. We always recommend consulting with your academic advisors to make sure that none of these activities are going to interfere with any academic requirements that you might have, because those might affect your timeline, right? So if you just want to double check with your academic advisor, I do think that that's always a really good idea. So Kostov, I have another question for you. Given all of these parameters, right, how did you decide when was a good time to get started with research?
So, me personally, I started doing research the first quarter of my freshman year. So that was about 2 years ago now. And I actually started around week 3. And it was just a matter of kind of getting lucky and finding the right person, but also being proactive and going to the events and asking questions. I met my graduate student in one of my first beginning physics classes. He was working on a lot of the stuff that I was really interested in. It was a lot of wave mechanics. He was working on trying to understand how materials work with different types of waves propagating through it. And I thought it was really cool. And I started having a conversation with him, and I just started talking to him. I even ran into him at a Phoenix food court just while he was getting lunch. And from there, it just kind of sparked a conversation where I'd be willing to come in and learn and help out. And he was more than happy to take me under his wing. Um, so that's kind of how I started. And then I met my professor. And then after that, it just kind of evolved into a relationship where now I have my own project and I have my own work. And they even let me work at a different university over the summer. But yeah, it was just a matter of networking. It was a matter of talking. And it was a matter of being ready and being curious. And fortunately, I've never had a hard time where, any of my classes didn't interfere with my research. But yeah, so it was just me just asking questions.
Yeah, thank you, Kostov. So Kostov just shared he decided to get started really early, right? Within the first quarter of his freshman year. That might not be true for you, and that is absolutely okay. Not everybody gets started right away. And I think that, just being here is definitely a good start to your research journey. So when we're thinking about our research journey, right, and applying to these on-campus research opportunities, I want to kind of illustrate this for you. And applying to on-campus research opportunities can be broken down into 3 different steps. So 1, you're going to want to find a topic that's interesting to you. 2, you're going to want to find a faculty member to work with, right? And 3, you're going to go ahead and reach out to that faculty member. What I mean by reach out could mean, filling out an application or just reaching out through email, but we'll go ahead and cover that in just a little bit. So step 1, finding your research topic. You'll want to start by thinking, if you don't already have a topic that's interesting to you, you might want to start with a topic that's interesting that you've learned from one of your classes potentially, right? So we talked about research being a great way to kind of expand and think more deeply about topics that we found in the classroom. So go ahead and start there if that's something that you are considering. If you really still don't know, you can't think of a single topic that you're interested in, you can go ahead and reflect on some of these questions, like what are UCI faculty researching currently? That might help you spark some, interest in something. If there is a topic that maybe one of your professors that you currently have is covering and maybe you find it pretty interesting, you can always go ahead and reach out to them. You also might want to think about why you chose your major. If there's any other majors that you were possibly considering, maybe there's a topic in there that you might find interesting. And absolutely, you can do research outside of your major as well. So something to keep in mind is if there's a different major, a different school that you might have been considering, that might be a really good place to look for a research interest. Also keeping in mind that a lot of the projects done here at UCI, a lot of the research done here is interdisciplinary. So there is a really good chance that you might be able to find a research topic that kind of merges 2 things that you're really interested in. So something just to keep in mind as you're thinking of research topics. Step 2, we're going to want to find a faculty member that is doing research that overlaps with that topic you're interested in, right? So we recommend making a list of faculty who interest you, anywhere from 3 to 5 professors by the time that you're done with this whole process, just because you want to have a good number of professors that you're interested in, right? So again, you can start with faculty that you know. That's going to be the best way to start. Is if you have any professors that you currently know, I would recommend reaching out to them, going to their office hours. That's a really, really great place to start. Office hours are not just for asking, test questions and things like that. I really do encourage you to go talk to your professors about their research interests. And if their particular interest is not something that you want to work on, you can always ask them for referrals or for maybe one of their colleagues that might be a better fit for you. You can also try the faculty profiling system. So the faculty profiling system is going to be a great place to start your search, just because it is going to give you the broadest search. So you can go to faculty.uci.edu and type in any term of a topic that you're interested in, and it will give you a research bio of all of the professors who might do overlapping work with that. Now, it is a pretty general search, so do keep in mind that it might pop up quite a few people, and not all of them will be super relevant, but that's okay because we're just starting our search. We want to have a big list, right? And as you're kind of looking through those bios, you'll realize, what professors might or might not be a great fit for you. I do also recommend you go to the departmental website. So if there's a professor or a certain department that you're looking at, go to their website, look through the faculty, and each one of them will have a little bit more specific information that might be a little more up to date on exactly, what they're doing and how you can reach out to them. I recommend reading some of their work as well before you go ahead and apply. So again, researching them, reading some of their articles on Google Scholar, and some of them do have personal and lab websites that you can get more information on, so that you can go ahead and have a better idea of what kind of research they're doing. So Kastub, I do want to ask you, how did you find your on-campus research opportunity?
Probably just a little bit, but it was actually a matter of just asking people, just kind of reaching out to everybody that I was really curious about. So the person I did reach out to was the TA for my 7LC lab, my first quarter. And I did reach out to a couple other different professors in different departments and different schools, who I was related to. So at that point, I was actually in the School of Electrical Engineering. So I did reach out to some people in the School of Computer Science or even in School of the Physical Sciences. And the one that actually ended up working out was my TA and he was a physics grad student. And that's kind of how I built that relationship with him. And then eventually I met the professor, and yeah, that's kind of how I ended up in the research lab.
Thank you, Kastub. So when we're reaching out to faculty or applying to these on-campus opportunities, it can happen a couple of different ways. So you can absolutely, network with people as Kastub did, find people that you already know. But for most of you, it is going to be one of two options, right? So either if the professor has an application available on their website, I recommend going ahead and applying through there. That's probably going to be your best bet. Some professors, most professors, don't have personal websites or even applications available for those that do have personal websites. It is going to be a very select few that have those opportunities available. So for those professors that don't have those opportunities available, you're going to go ahead and just email them. And it sounds pretty simple, but that is how most people apply to these on-campus opportunities. And when emailing a faculty member, you do want to keep in mind that the goal of the email is to get an appointment with that faculty member so you can start to build a relationship with them. I don't recommend, sending an email to them and just saying, I'm interested in research. Do you have any openings? Because it's going to be really easy for that professor to just say no to you, right? Over email, if you just ask a quick question. You'll want to follow a certain format that you can see here. So introducing yourself. Paragraph 2 is going to be the biggest part, right? So talking about them and their expertise, mentioning the work of theirs that you've read, and highlighting how their expertise is going to be a good fit for you. And then we're going to go ahead and ask for that appointment that I mentioned. Once you go ahead and ask for the appointment, hopefully they will get back to you. You can also be very persistent and follow up with them weekly. But once you do meet with them, you're going to treat it like a job interview, right? So we want to be prepared by reading some of their work. We want to be punctual, dress appropriately, and afterward, we're going to go ahead and send a thank you email because it is kind of like a job application, right? We want to make sure that we have all of this ready to go. So as we're kind of thinking about reaching out to faculty, I recognize that it can be pretty intimidating. And a lot of students ask this question, well, why would faculty want to work with me, right? So I do want to stress that passion, curiosity, and motivation are all really great characteristics to have, and it is mostly what professors are looking for. So when you're looking through, those professors and you're thinking of who to work with over the summer, you're really going to want to stress that, you realize that they're a good fit for you because of the research that they're doing. You want to seem motivated. And you absolutely do not have to be an expert. Most students have absolutely no experience whatsoever in the field, right? That they're doing research. And the point of doing undergraduate research is to get that experience and to learn more about that topic. Now, some professors might have different requirements for the students that they take. So they might ask you to, take a prerequisite course, or some folks do have GPA requirements. You'll want to kind of find those requirements ahead of time and make sure that you can meet those requirements as well. But most professors are happy to take students that have absolutely no experience and no knowledge on the topic previously. Just remembering that professors are people too. They're passionate about the work that they do. They're passionate about helping you become better students and better researchers. So please do reach out to them. The worst thing that people can say is no. And I do find that a lot of our professors do care very deeply about their students, and they are very invested in making sure that you all are very competent and wonderful researchers, right? So keeping that in mind when we are applying to these on-campus opportunities is going to be really great. So now bringing us to what UROP can do to help you apply to on-campus opportunities. So we can absolutely help you get started in research by doing workshops like this, but we do also offer one-on-one advising with peer advisors like Hausta or with professional advisors like myself. So please be sure to schedule an appointment with our office if you have any questions, especially after this. You might have some more specific questions, so I recommend that you reach out to us. We also do help support research by offering UROP opportunities that we're actually about to cover in just a second. And we can help you share your research. So for students who are wanting to present their research, you can absolutely apply to present at our undergraduate research symposium or at our project pitch. I recommend that you check out our website, which is right here on the screen, for more information on both of those opportunities, which are really, really fun time. I highly recommend checking them out, even as just a guest if you are not wanting to present your research specifically. It is absolutely free to all of our UCI students. But moving on to those summer opportunities, the UROP opportunities that I mentioned. So the UROP Summer Undergraduate Research Program, also known as SURP, is going to be available to students who are doing on-campus research. So this is specifically for those who are doing on-campus research with a UCI faculty member. So some of you might have heard of SURP. It is very similar to our other UROP opportunities, but let's go ahead and cover exactly what the differences are here. So SURP is a research fellowship for UCI undergraduate students, and it is aimed at students with some prior research experience who plan to continue intensive faculty mentored research over the summer. So a lot of folks, like I mentioned, will get onboarded and start their research process maybe in the winter quarter now or in the spring quarter. And this is for students who will be continuing that research throughout the summertime, right? So typically it's about 10 weeks, so whatever the summer entails, right? And awards are expected to be approximately $1,500. So for those who are awarded for funding, you are going to be awarded the full 1,500 through a stipend directly to you. I believe it's split into 2 payments, but you do not have to give any sort of receipts. It's not meant to reimburse your research in any way. This is a payment just to you, so that we can help support you throughout the summer while you are doing that summer research, right? So keeping in mind that some folks might only get the award for recognition. Those would still be considered UROP Fellows, but those who are awarded for funding and recognition would also be UROP Fellows. And the application is due April 4th, 2025. So keeping in mind, folks who apply to SURP should already have a faculty mentor. So went through all of those steps that I just mentioned on securing an on-campus research opportunity. So you're going to have to also apply for this. So who can apply for SURP? Again, must be a current UCI undergraduate student through at least fall 2025. So you will have to be an enrolled student in fall of 2025. You must have UCI faculty mentor guidance. You must be in good academic standing, so that's a 2.0 GPA or higher. You must have some prior research experience, right? So most of you, again, are going to start in either the winter or spring and continue on into the summer. And it is an individual application. So if you're working on a group project and you are planning on applying, this application is going to be for you individually, right? So members of groups must submit separately, something to keep in mind for you all. So how do we apply for CERB? It is an online application and it is currently open, right? Or no, it is not currently open. I should take that back. It is not open yet. We have not yet opened up that application, but you can keep an eye on our website, and I can show you also how to find it once we go ahead and do that demonstration. But it'll be under UROP opportunities on our website, and you can go ahead and read all about that. The application consists of a personal statement, so you will have to write a short personal statement. Most of the time they are 1 to 2 pages. You will have to write a research proposal with the help of your faculty mentor or your graduate student mentor if you are being directly mentored by a graduate student. And you will also have to turn in a faculty sign-off form. So regardless of whether you're getting directly mentored by a grad student or by that faculty member, a faculty member does have to sign off on your project, so do keep that in mind. That is part of the application. Again, it is going to be due on April 4th at 11:59 p.m. I do recommend that you not wait until 11 something p.m. because our systems can get overloaded and it might not go through on time. I do also want to note that the UCI Writing Center is available by appointment for assistance with CERB applications specifically, so they can absolutely help you at any part of your process with the personal statement and with the research proposal. So even if you need help brainstorming, getting started, if you need someone to do a quick grammar check or help you think of ideas, you can absolutely go to the Writing Center for some more help. They are absolutely well equipped to handle helping you with that application specifically. So that covers on-campus opportunities, how to apply to them, and also how to apply to CERB and who is able to apply to CERB, right? And we can go ahead and answer questions at the very end on any of those two topics, but I do also want to go ahead and transition now to off-campus research opportunities. So a lot of folks do decide to do research off-campus during the summertime for one reason or another. And this is absolutely a great time to start looking at those. As I mentioned, the deadlines do come up a lot quicker than you would think. So off-campus research opportunities do not necessarily go through the UROP office. We do not provide off-campus research opportunities. It is going to be your responsibility to find those off-campus research opportunities. And you can look in a variety of different ways. I will say a Google search goes a lot farther than you would think. And I do want to note that at the bottom of the screen here, there are some keywords to use in expanding that search. So these are definitely things that you can type in to Google or to some sort of search engine to help you start that search. But finding off-campus research opportunities can look a little bit different for everyone. For some, you might be looking at specific companies or internships that are related to a maybe corporation or a company that you are interested in that is big in your field. So we do have a couple of examples on our website for folks that want to take a look at that. You can also look at other universities. So there are definitely summer opportunities available for students at other universities throughout the country. So that's something to take a look at. Oftentimes they are specifically for students that don't go to that school. So it's something that you'll want to keep an eye out for if there's another UC campus, for example, that you might be interested in doing research at. I would highly recommend taking a look at what opportunities they have available at those schools. And you can also look at things like medical centers that you might be interested in for those that are more inclined towards medicine. There are also various national research organizations that have search engines of their own, such as the National Science Foundation, the NSF. Awesome. So moving on, I do actually want to take some time to go through our off-campus opportunities page, just so that we all have a good idea of what I mean by, national search engines and other opportunities that might be available. And we do have this resource available for you on the UROP website. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Right here, I have popped up the UROP website, and you can just see this is our front page. So I'm going to direct us over here to opportunities, and we're going to move down to off-campus research. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So you can see here that we have various links that might be interesting for y'all to help start your search, right? So as I'm looking through these, I am going to go to Summer University Research Programs. I'll go ahead and click on this link. It is a super helpful one. So the school, what is it? CSU Long Beach has put together a big list of open opportunities for students of varied disciplines, right? So this does go on for 10 pages. It's really big, and they've done a really great job of compiling a bunch of summer opportunities that are open and giving you the information that you're going to need in order to apply. So you'll see here in this example, the program name. It is for students of varied disciplines. It gives you some eligibility information, how long the program is, if there's funding, remote, in-person information, who to contact, due dates, things like that. So this is a really helpful list that, again, Cal State Long Beach has put together, and you can kind of take a look at it, see if there's any in here that interest you. And this is a good place to start your search because it has everything already in one place, right? So a really great list that was put together by the folks over at Cal State Long Beach that I do recommend checking out, and it is linked right here on the page. Another example here is going to be the University of Utah's 2025 summer program. So again, this is just an example of some possible programs that could be at different institutions. So, maybe one of your top schools when you were looking at colleges was in a different state or, close by. It doesn't really matter. There are going to be different opportunities available at different universities that might be interesting to see. So this is an example that they have over at the University of Utah. The application is currently open, so I recommend kind of Googling certain schools that you might be interested in, and then, summer opportunities or summer research opportunities, and that might help you find some more information on what schools might be a good fit. Moving on to the national research organizations, like I mentioned, there are going to be certain, I guess you could call them search engines for specific organizations. So we'll click on NSF. You can see here that you can go ahead and type in any particular search term that might be interesting to you. You can also filter by research area, and these are going to be specifically for science, right? And that is going to be a really, really great place, again, to look for a mass amount of research opportunities. One of my absolute favorites, though, is going to be this Pathways to Science. And I do want to give the disclaimer that while it says Pathways to Science, it is not specific to the sciences, which is something that I really love. So you can start off by looking at what opportunities are available here. I'm going to go ahead and click undergraduate students. So let's just run through a quick example of what it could potentially look like to look for a summer opportunity through this Pathways to Science. You can also pick a program start date, so of when it might start. I'll leave that blank for now, just so that we get more search results, right? And you can also filter it by institution. So again, if there's a specific school that you're interested in looking at, you can go ahead and filter through. And you can also filter by discipline. So we can see here that there are definitely a lot of STEM opportunities, but just to go ahead and demonstrate that it is not science specific, I'll go ahead and pick something non-science related. So let's try general business, right? We'll filter that way. And you can also pick multiple, right? So we'll pick general business. And I want to note that you can also browse by geography. So if you're not willing to leave the state of California, totally fine. You can go ahead and filter that way. But if you're open to different opportunities across the country, you can go ahead and select by region or by state. And I'll go ahead and just click our general search as well. So Oh, I guess I picked a bad example. So this one only popped up one, right? So something to keep in mind is that there might be more opportunities in a particular field. It looks like for our business folks in general business, there is one singular opportunity here that popped up, and you can see the application deadline is going to be here in the corner. So the deadline is going to be February 10th. And as you click on it, you'll get some more information about that particular opportunity. So it is specifically open to undergraduates, sophomores, or juniors. It does also give you some information on eligibility and on the dates. So it's from June to August, and you can go ahead and see what other information is available for this particular opportunity. And then it does also have a contacts tab, so you can go ahead and see who is the contact for this particular opportunity. And you can go ahead and answer a few questions in the survey if you want to, but you do not have to. Let's go ahead and go back. And I'm going to pick a different field so that we can get some more options. Let's try psychology and behavioral sciences search programs. So you'll see that this one popped up 35 programs. So again, it's going to be different for everyone, but there's going to be different deadlines, different opportunities available. Let's go ahead and click this top one. So again, eligibility information, a description, and this is a really great way to just kind of filter as you need to. There's tons and tons of options. So I do really recommend this Pathways to Science search engine. It is a really great place to start your search for sure. Again, for those that are more interested in specific industries, you can always look up specific companies, like for example, Samsung right here is the example that we have, or Cedars-Sinai is also a good example for medical centers as well. So you can see that there are going to be research opportunities at specific companies, corporations, hospitals, etc. So you can broaden your search to that as well. There's also some tips here for things to consider. But that kind of encompasses our entire UROP off-campus opportunities resources. Again, UROP advisors are not able to find opportunities for you, but you can go ahead and start here. And if you're having any trouble, if you need help with your application, if you want extra eyes on the opportunities themselves, you can absolutely make an appointment with our office. And advisors like myself are happy to help you with the process of applying and putting together those materials as well. All right, so let's go ahead and move along. So Kaustubh, I am aware that you have done on-campus research over the summer, but you also have done off-campus research over the summer. Do you mind telling us a little bit about how you found that off-campus opportunity?
Sure. So I work in a quantum materials and devices laboratory, as I already specified. And the PI I worked for actually came in from Harvard. He actually worked there for a bit as a postdoc. So I got a chance to go to a conference last year in Minnesota, in Minneapolis specifically. And I met the PI that my professor worked for, and he seemed pretty interested in the work that I did. He said he had some funding, and my PI said he also had some funding, and I applied for the quantum CERP, which is the Quantum Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, which is kind of like a modification of the CERP program for students working in quantum sciences. And kind of do these different sources. I was able to spend half a summer there at Harvard, kind of learning about their processes and also just talking about the work that I was doing here. It was a pretty cool opportunity, and I just kind of got out of just networking and just reaching out to people. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Kaustubh. So again, highlighting the importance of networking, right? And seeing how an on-campus opportunity can oftentimes also lead to off-campus opportunities eventually. But I do also want to raise the importance of these deadlines that are coming up, right? So you saw in a couple of those examples that the deadlines were pretty quick, right? So these opportunity deadlines are going to absolutely vary, especially from on to off-campus opportunities. On-campus opportunities don't necessarily have an expiration date, right? Whereas these off-campus opportunities absolutely have deadlines, and they come up a lot quicker than you would think. So some popular deadlines for off-campus opportunities, and not all off-campus opportunities are going to have these deadlines, but some popular ones are January 30th, February 1st, and February 15th, which is coming up a lot quicker than we would think, right? For summer, a lot of folks think that applying sometime in, May is probably a good time, but actually most opportunities have already passed by that point, and you'll want to start looking at those application deadlines probably sometime soon in the next couple weeks. So how do we apply for these off-campus opportunities? I already showed you a little bit about how to find the information for the application process, but every single one is going to be a little bit different. They might require different materials from you, and you'll want to review what materials are necessary very early on, because some of these materials take more time to put together than others. So some common materials that you can expect to be asked for are a resume or CV, a cover letter, a letter of recommendation, transcripts, oftentimes either official or unofficial, and a statement of purpose. So not every single opportunity is going to ask you for all of these things, but they are good materials to kind of have on the ready in case you are looking at applying to multiple opportunities, right? Some of these are going to take more time to put together than others. For example, a letter of recommendation from someone, I would recommend giving them at least a month to write you a letter of recommendation, right? So that they have enough time to put that together. With those deadlines coming up, for some of us, that means right now asking someone for a letter if that's something that we're going to need for our applications. Resume or CV, some of us don't have a resume or CV put together yet, so you'll want to go ahead and go over to the Division of Career Pathways for more help with that. So we're seeing that our timelines are getting a little bit tighter, right? So something to keep in mind as you're applying to these opportunities. Some general tips though for applications is definitely keeping track of what opportunities you're applying to. I recommend an Excel sheet or Google Sheets, making sure that we're aware of those deadlines. Some people really like apps like Notion, whatever works for you, find a way to keep them organized for sure. You do also really want to understand what you want out of a research opportunity before you apply. Are you expecting funding? Do you want housing to be included? Is that a deal breaker for you? Do you want to leave the state? Do you want to stay right where you are and, do something here in Southern California? Remote versus in person. All of those things are going to be a very personal decision, and you're going to want to understand what parameters you're working with before you start applying to things. Again, considering the compensation and location is going to be really big for some of us. And also, please make sure to use your resources. There's absolutely resources here at the UROP office, but also, like I mentioned, other offices like Division of Career Pathways can be really helpful, and potentially other resources like your peers or your professors that could be really helpful in these as well. So Kaustubh, as we come to the end of our time, do you have any final words of advice for our students before we start taking questions?
I think, echoing everything you said about using our resources and networking and reaching out to people, I think one of the best things about UCI is the people. I think everybody here is very nice and understanding and caring. There's a lot of great resources on campus. It could be a matter of just exploring, asking, even just calling different departments and different offices and seeing what they have to offer and how it can apply to your situation. Just in the science library at UROP, we even have the writing center, and they're great opportunities to just see what's out there. Even scholarship office is great. They get different types of scholarships for students. But yeah, I actually think it's just a matter of reaching out and not being afraid to ask questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Kaustubh. So as we come to nearing the end of our time, right, we still have a little bit, I do want to share that we have a link here. And if you'd like to share some feedback about this information session, things that we could improve, things that you enjoyed about it, it would be super helpful for us to be able to improve this with your feedback or to let us know what you enjoyed. We do also have some upcoming info sessions on the SERP application. So if you want more in-depth information on the SERP application and how to go about that, the dates are to be decided as of now, but I would recommend checking back the UROP website. We do have a calendar where you can see all of our available dates, and you can go ahead and register for those workshops as they become available as well. Our upcoming deadlines, we do have a travel and publication award for those that are currently doing research or plan to travel for some sort of research opportunity. That's going to be January 27th. And again, the SERP application is going to be due April 4th. If any of you would like to follow us on socials for any reminders on deadlines or just to see what we're up to, you can go ahead and scan that top left QR. But at this time, I'll go ahead and stop our recording, and I will be open for questions. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat first.